that they be reverent in behavior, not slanderers, not given to much wine, teachers of good things, that they admonish the younger women to love their husbands, to love their children. What does it mean to admonish? So when I speak about the older women teaching the younger women, this is what I'm speaking about. The older women teaching their younger women how to be a lady to their husband and how to, keep the household in order, not being no gossiper, not being no slanderer. Once it and ultimately this is the man's will. This is the husband's will. So the husbands are going to be right there. It's not going to be like that woman is just sneaking off going in. No, it's going to be made known what's happening among the household of that man, because ultimately that man has to allow it. But if there's and I say this because we see how when women get in a position that there's a little bit of leeway, we see how they take advantage of that. Look at what feminism has done to our people. It's completely changed how a woman's mind is supposed to reason. Titus chapter 2 and verse 4. So that word for admonish the younger women goes into teach. And that definition of teach means to restore one to his senses, to moderate, control, curb, discipline, to hold one to his duty, to admonish, to exhort earnestly. So it goes into basically keeping somebody in their right mind. Not necessarily control as far as tell somebody how to live, but simply to let somebody know when it comes to certain guidelines or certain things that may come back on the body. So you don't want anything that you do to come back on the body of Yahweh Shah HaMashiach, being us. So you don't want any bad thing to be said about the church. And ultimately our women are an extension of us. So when you have a woman, if you want to know what type of man that man is, you can look at his woman and whatever that man allows, ultimately is going to be seen on the woman. So if a man doesn't say nothing when somebody talks crazy to him, his woman is going to be going off at the jaw. When a man doesn't say nothing when somebody puts their hands on him, his woman is going to be putting her hands on him. Those are all things that a man is to check and to make known. Look, there's certain guidelines and boundaries that I don't like when people cross. And if you're gonna cross them, then you can go elsewhere. And these are to be made before you get that woman, before you lay down with that woman. And you may want to take a time period out simply to get to know the woman and check the woman out if you even want to be with her before you be with her. But these are all things that they've desensitized us from. So, as far as teaching, if a woman has been with her husband for a while, and there's younger women who are wanting to know how to be good wives, then that older woman who has a husband in the truth, or who may learn from the truth from the elders and apostles of Great Millstone, then it may be in the sense of being able to let a woman know how to be a wife. But as far as this gospel goes, then that's all up to the men. So when I said teach, as far as the women, I meant as far as how to be godly women and godly wives to their husbands. To be discreet, chaste, meaning disciplined, homemakers. So that word homemakers makes it known, okay, a woman has to know how to keep her children in order, how to keep the house in order underneath the man. So ultimately it's the man's duty to establish that order, but a woman is the help. So women have to know how to be helps. You don't want to be your own homewrecker. Obedient to their own husbands, that the word of Yahweh may not be blasphemed. So as I said before, it's up to the man as to whether that woman can, speak to other women like that or not. But, the woman always wants to be obedient to her own husband. But, ultimately that's going to be in the man's authority. And he may be in the presence when those conversations, or if those conversations take place. And I'm gonna read on down because this also edifies, and you see the separation as when what it's talking about. It reads, likewise exhort the young men to be sober minded, in all things showing yourself to be a pattern of good works, in doctrine showing integrity. So that means that, you don't want to be hypocrites. So the same thing that the Lord has us speaking of, that he has us preaching, you want to live that. Whether you're making a lesson, whether you're out and about, or in the confines of your home, you want to show integrity. But notice it said in doctrine, because a man is in charge of preaching sound doctrine, of teaching sound doctrine. For the women, it didn't say doctrine for women. Reverence, incorruptibility. In doctrine showing integrity, reverence, incorruptibility. Meaning not being able to be swayed to and fro with all these deceiving doctrines. Sound speech that cannot be condemned, that one who is opponent may be ashamed, having nothing evil to say to you, to say of you. So that was a lamb or that was an oxtail off of the last lesson that I made called Exodus 23 and verse 26, or 1 Corinthians chapter 7 and verse 29. Serve Yahweh either way. This lesson was a lamb back for that, as well as a clarification for one of my previous lessons where I spoke about, I may have mentioned a woman teaching. This was putting into context what I meant when I said that. But, we understand when we speak of certain things, but when somebody hears us, they may take it out of context and run with it. And we don't want that to be the case, because, when you don't ask questions, that says something. When you hear certain things, you want to ask questions if you don't fully understand, which is where comments come into play. And, not just, taking it and not saying nothing if you don't understand. And I don't know if I got this or not, but this is Sirach chapter 25 and verse 21. Stumble not at the beauty of a woman, and desire her not for pleasure. So you shouldn't desire a woman just for pleasure, to please your flesh. You should desire a woman so that she can carry on your lineage and bring your seed into the earth. And I'm just going to do a quick skim and make sure I touched on the topics that I wanted to cover. First Timothy chapter, I'll get this as well. This is going to be my closing segment of scriptures. First Timothy chapter 2 and verse 8. I desire, therefore, that the men pray everywhere, lifting up holy hands without wrath and doubting. So that goes into when we make these lessons. When we go out to the highways and the byways and we make lessons. Ultimately these are putting up songs to the Lord, psalms to the Lord, praising the Lord without wrath and doubting. This is why I say, I try to keep a grasp on my temper when I mention certain things, because I don't want to be putting up an unpleasant fragrance in the nose of the Most High. In like manner also, that the women adorn themselves in modest apparel, with propriety and moderation, not with braided hair and gold and costly and chilakia and gold or pearls or costly clothing, but which is proper for women, professing godliness in good works. Let a woman learn in silence with all submission. And I do not permit a woman to teach or to have authority over a man, but to be silent, but to be in silence. For Adam was formed first, then Eve. And Adam was not deceived, but the woman being deceived fell into transgression. Nevertheless, she will be saved in childbearing, if they continue in faith, love, holiness, and with self-control. So that word self-control is brought up a good amount throughout the scripture. First Timothy chapter 5 and verse 6. But she who lives in pleasure is dead while she lives. So you shouldn't live simply to please your flesh. And that coincides with what I read in Ecclesiasticus chapter 25 and verse 21. Do not desire a woman for pleasure. And then that also goes along with the book of Proverbs. Chapter 21 and verse 17. He who loves pleasure will be a poor man, and he who loves wine and oil will not be rich. So you loving pleasure, you loving to please your flesh, ultimately is going to end up in you being poor spiritually when it comes to this wisdom. And he who loves wine and oil will not be rich. You loving the things of this world, material things. Ultimately, you're not going to have a good amount of wisdom. You having self-control over the things that you purchase, over what you spend your time on. When somebody has a strong sense of self-control as far as where they spend their time and what they spend their time on, that builds character. That builds a strong foundation when it comes to you spiritually. You don't want somebody to be able to say, hey, let's go do this, and then you go and do it. You know, you want it to be, you want to spend your time wisely, you know. When somebody's around you, they want to be able to know, yo, I'm not gonna bring this up to this person because I know they're not gonna rock with it, you know. That's where those boundaries come into play. 1 Timothy chapter 5. And verse 14. Therefore I desire that the young widows marry, bear children, manage the house, give no opportunity to the adversary to speak reproachfully. And that's if you can't practice self-control. If you can't practice self-control, settle down. You know. And if you a virgin, you know, seek to please the Lord. If you don't, or if you single, you don't got you a man, seek to please the Lord. Because you come across certain men of the Lord, they may tell you straight up, look, I'll teach you, but I ain't got, you know. Hey, the Most High might not have it set in certain brothers' walks of life to have children right now. So, you know, ultimately this wisdom takes the you know, it takes the first priority. Pleasing Yahweh Bahasham Yahweh Shai. So on that, man, I think I got a good amount of meat off the bone for y'all to be able to have a good feast. But I'll see y'all next time. Hey, Kal Halam Yalah, Yahweh Bahasham Yahweh Shai Bahasham Rekakwadash. Double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone who teach and rule well. And shalom to the Akim and Agwafim out there learning along, doing your due diligence, and making your calling of election sure. Until next time, shalom.